Right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad you are here. We'll get started just in a few couple of seconds while we have just more numbers. But I want to use this occasion to say congratulations for the opportunity for you to be here. It's a great pleasure to be here with you in this experiential conference and bootcamp. I am persuaded that you will not be the same after these 3 days. My name is Jerry Kwarbai. I'm from Bangkok University, Nigeria, and I'm a proud member of African Science Frontier Initiative, ASFI. And I have the honor and the rare privilege to anchor today's program. Before we proceed, I want to do a quick highlight. I just want to be sure if all of us are here with me. Let me ask the questions. Let me be sure if you can just chat on the chat box before we get started. The first ASFI conference and bootcamp was held in 2022. Yes or no? Put in the chat box. I want to be sure. Put on the chat box. The first ASFI conference and bootcamp was held in 2022 on the chat box. I want to be sure you're here with me on the chat box. True or false? Wonderful. Rosemary, go ahead. I have over 50 to 55 persons here. Someone said true. Where are you being in trouble? You got to be in trouble. You got to be in trouble. You got to be in trouble. So I want to be sure these persons, maybe I should have asked first timers. Maybe I could have actually excluded the report from these two perspectives. So actually, our first conference was in 2023. And the second was in 2024, which was last year. And this year, we are having our third. So today, SFI proudly present to you its third annual virtual multidisciplinary conference and bootcamp under the unifying banner of advancing African scientific collaboration, innovation, and policy influence. The theme is beyond boundaries, and you could imagine, breaking collaborative frontiers for impactful research and career. So as we gather for these 3 powerful packed days, what are your expectations? What are your expectations? Please, can I hear you send me just a chart? What are your expectations? Just a word. Explain what you expect. Impacting, research-driven, I don't know. Let me see your chart, please. What are your expectations on the chat box? I'll be glad to read them right away before we get started. Sorry, we're having 61 and we need to get started. But before then, let me see what you're putting there. What are your expectations? I've not seen anything yet. What are you expecting, please? Wow. Mind-changing. Inspire. To be better informed and transformed. Great. Fantastic. Who again? Who again? Who again? Networking. And the last person before we get started. Let me see the last person that will send me a chart on what are expectations. Enhance knowledge and skill. Learn from colleagues. Inspire. Collaboration to witness current progress in research area. Collaborative. Fantastic. 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 I love the ideas. I love. So as we gather today, ladies and gentlemen, let me swing into action as we commence the conference in its full force. Please join me as I welcome to the stage our leaders that will be giving to us some welcome address. First on the line is Dr. Samuel Agbenigbe. He is the chair for conference committee. And thereafter, we shall be having Dr. Eunice. But first of all, join me as I welcome Dr. Samuel Agbenigbe, the chair, conference committee. Doctor, please go ahead. Is Dr. Sam here? Let me be sure if he's here. I thought I saw him not long. Yeah. Dr. Samuel, we can hear you?
Yeah, I think he's still having problem with his audio.
Okay.
I'm sure he has corrected.
Let's see. All right. All right, let me just read more comment about what they expect from it. I could see someone with a smile, more collaboration, learn and network, building capacity, which is very important. I just want to be sure if you are with me when I started. I said the theme for this particular conference is Beyond Boundaries, Breaking Collaborative Frontier for Impact Research and Career. And I mentioned some few keynotes that we need to pay attention to. That in this conference, think about groups, think about collaboration, think about mentorship, but more importantly, we're discovering the possibility that lies behind science and innovative across Africa. So while we're here, you think about collaboration, innovation, and policy influence. So we don't just do research just to stay at the shelf or in the journal houses. Our research will influence policies. So these three important keynotes: collaboration, innovation, and policy influence. Please let it be at the back of your mind. This conference want to advance African scientific collaboration, innovation, and policy influence. Do we have Samuel now? Amendment? Can we get started? Dr. Samuel, are you here now?
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the audio challenge I have from here. Please, can the host please put the slide on so that I can speak from here? Yeah, thank you. I want to welcome you all to this conference this year. I am Samuel Adewale Abanibe. Yeah, I'm the chair for this conference for this year 2025, and I am a research fellow from Sustainable Rural Economy in Tshwane University of Technology, Pretoria, South Africa. Please, can you go to the my welcome address so I can speak from here? The welcome address, please.
Dr. Sam, we don't have your welcome address on the slide.
Oh.
Did you have it as presentation or written text?
Please, can you flag the program so I can read from the program?
Do you have it as presentation or written text?
I have it as okay. I need to open it again. I don't know what happened this
Because
morning.
we don't have your welcome address as a presentation. So if you want to read from the program, you can, but I don't think I can share it from here.
Oh, okay. Let the boot camp stop share. Please take the welcoming while I sort myself out. Please, apologies, please.
All right. I'm not sure. I also have Dr. Eunice on board. So maybe I need to move to Dr. Dumisani. Dr. Dumisani, are you here? Please, can we have you? Dr. Dumisani indeed is the president for ASFI General Assembly. He's a senior lecturer, Department of Accounting, Economics and Finance, Faculty of Management and Commerce, University of Port Here, South Africa. Dr. Dumisani, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Great. Please go ahead. Let's have your welcoming address.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. And thank you for your introduction of myself. Distinguished guests, fellow researchers, and valued ASFI members. On behalf of the ASFI General Assembly, I am honored to welcome you to this virtual multidisciplinary conference and bootcamp, which is themed Breaking Boundaries, Breaking Collaborative Frontiers for Impactful Research and Careers. As the General Assembly, we serve as the supreme governing body of the ASFI members who are committed to building capacity and advancing the career development of African scientists across the continent. Today's gathering embodies our core mission to bring together young researchers and academics to foster a sense of belonging, promote professional growth, and facilitate meaningful collaborations. Through our quarterly assemblies and programs, we create spaces where boundaries dissolve and collaboration flourishes. Our rotating regional leadership ensures that every voice contributes to shaping future of the African science. This conference represents more than knowledge sharing. It is about forging partnerships that transcend borders, disciplines, and traditional research limitations. As we engage in these sessions, I encourage you to embrace bold ideas, challenge conventional approaches, and build networks that will define the next generation of impactful African research. Together, we are not just breaking boundaries. We are redefining what is possible for African science. Welcome, and let us make this gathering impactful and transformative. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Domisani. Next is a welcome address by our own Professor Bright Waru. He is the visionary, the founder, executive director, ASFI. He is a professor of epidemiology and respiratory diseases and allergology, Institute of Medicine, University of Gothenburg, Sweden. On the stage, we have our doctor. Please, Prof, you have the stage.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Kwabai, for your introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kwabai, can you just confirm you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, Prof.
All right.
Thank you, Prof.
So, yes, I want to use this opportunity to officially welcome you all to this event. Since 2023 we started, it has been 2 events in one. So it's a conference as well as a boot camp. All right. Initially, when we started, we wanted to have 2 different events, but we have combined them, and they have worked out quite well. This means that there is the scientific part where we discuss usual science that comes within the context of a conference. And then the boot camp is more informal, where we collaborate, network, and work together to develop our skills, our experiences, and so on and so forth. So I welcome you, and I believe that what is on my screen, you can identify yourself. This is no way captures every tongue, every language Africa can muster. I don't think any screen can do that. But just to tell you, beyond English, I just want to welcome you in whichever language you speak and you understand. All right. I am really excited for the opportunity that these 3 days offer us, given the experiences we have derived from the past events in 2023 and 2024. I believe that if you stay put with us by the end of Thursday, and this has been the situation in the past years, you will not want to go. That is what this event usually brings. So welcome. So yeah, why are we here? Yeah, why are we here? That is a key question, and I want to share with you my own perspectives of why I am here and why we have invited you to be here. Okay. Well, I don't know if this is too hard to say, but I am in Europe. I'm in Sweden. And if you know, Sweden is one of the nations that has excellent development. All right. It's not, well, you don't have problems, but it's a place where it's peaceful. Well, peace is relative, I think. Yeah. So, but even when I'm here, I have my ears, I have my eyes, I have my heart resonating in Africa. Okay? And that is why I can make this statement you see on your screen. That Africa is sick, very sick. Take, for instance, my own country, Nigeria. I don't know if anyone can doubt that. You can react on the chat if you disagree. Of course, you can affirm if you agree, but I don't think anyone can say Nigeria is healthy. Then you can go northward. Our brothers and sisters in Sudan, I don't think anyone would say it's healthy. All right, you can go to the west, you can go to the south, you can go to the east. Yes, and what is on the left side is a story that you see on the street. Poverty, unemployment, you have health issues, you have various inequalities in the society, you have weak institutions. Yes, many of those. This is what I see when I look back to Africa. And there's no day that passes. I don't read the news. I don't get information because it is in my heart, it's in my ears, and it's in my eyes. Why am I bringing this up? A sick patient needs a doctor. Ultimately, you can't stay home and maybe you can do some home remedies. But when you are very sick, then you need to visit a doctor, a physician. Sometimes it may require that you go for emergency. So the way the healthcare is organized is you have the primary care. Well, you go there, the doctor checks, maybe you have some symptoms. But when you're very sick, sometimes the ambulance can come and you have to go to the emergency to be treated acutely. All right. So if Africa is sick, Africa needs doctors to help it. Okay. And this is a very important mantra I always use by UNESCO. And this mantra is quite basic, but it's powerful, where it elevates science, or you may call it research, or you can call it scholarship, as a bedrock for societal development, or I can say healing. Science or research as the bedrock. And I like the way they put it here, is the greatest collective endeavor. So as Africa being sick requires doctors, I said collective endeavor, whereby there is a unifying force amongst these doctors. And the context of this event we have these 3 days refers to you. You as a scientist. This has been my proposal on this platform, ASFI. That is why I started it, to really resurrect the physicians that should be healing Africa, and that is you. All right? And the expectation here is that if science does its work well, the society will live longer. The society will have medicine to treat or cure its diseases. There will not be lack of water. All right? There will be sufficient foods to eat. There will be energy for our consumption, used for different purposes. In fact, we'll go to the point where we can use the resources we can use it to make our life fun. I see this as powerful. And this is beautifully written and handed over to scientists. This is why you exist. Because you are the doctor of the society. If the society is sick, it is scientist. If the society is healthy, it is scientist. But what I've seen is that African scientists have maybe be sleeping for a long time. Well, maybe partly sleeping. But this gathering, the first edition, the second edition, and the third edition, and I'm not sure it's going to end, is a call that as a people we must respond to the challenges our society, our continent has. And that brings us to the theme we have for this year, Beyond Boundaries. And in my own experience, all right, you can see there are many things that can cause boundaries between us. Culture can put a boundary, religion, gender or sex, discipline. Sometimes there are imaginary boundaries, unspoken boundaries that exist. So in my own experience, I have seen a tool or something that breaks boundaries, and that is science. It's a language that when you start speaking it in the room, really many people care more or less who is there. Because a language that unifies is a force that unifies. It's a barometer that measures our common problems and helps us to develop strategies to solve our problems. So we say beyond boundaries. And the expectation is that we will go and unite ourselves as a people to solve our problems. Well, I don't know if I will call him a mentor, but Robert Merton is something, if you look at philosophy of science, is somebody I have admired. He wrote this thesis in 1973. And I have used it in much of my courses. And I was teaching a course to doctoral students last week, a course that I used this theory to teach. And I was asking those who are in the class, have you heard about Robert Merton? No. Well, in the way science is going these days, the theory he has written about so powerfully is not found commonly in the classroom. Anyway, I'm not going to his theory, but something he said there are 4 ethos of science, values, all right? Values of science. You measure universalism, organized skepticism, disinterestedness, but one that captures. The reason we are here this week is the one he called communality. Communality. Well, he used the language, in fact, he called it communism when he wrote it. And then it went to communality. But here it means community. Community of peers who come together for a common goal, despite their differences, despite the boundaries that exist between them. But they come together for a common goal. And that is why we're here, to form a community of brothers and sisters and colleagues and scientists unified together to solve the problem our society has. So this conference is about community. That is why we have termed it Beyond Boundaries. So I started by asking, why are we here? Why we are here? We are here to break boundaries. All right? We are here to form a community. We are here to find our commonalities. We are here to unify our strengths. We are here to de-emphasize our differences. We're here to mobilize the power of togetherness. We're here to realize our connectivity. We're here to stand united. Not fall divided. Because, the old saying that united we stand, divided we fall. This is the urgency of where Africa is. That all boundaries need to be broken for us to walk on the path of getting out of the challenges we have in our society. When we take this approach, when we unite, when we work towards breaking these boundaries, there are beautiful benefits that come from it, and these are tangible. All right? They are not intellectual. They are things that we can see. When boundaries are broken between us, it drives innovation. It helps us to solve complex problems. All right? It helps to accelerate discoveries. And many good things can come from that. Those who have tested it, even within ASFI, there are those who have tested this approach. And I tell you, they can see the benefit. So colleagues, as we sit and go through the programs we have planned these 3 days, we have called you to break boundaries. We have called you to look beyond yourself. All right? We have called you to empty self and to unite with ourselves. All right? Some of you are here for the first time. Just want to let you know that this event is brought to you by ASFI, okay? African Science Frontiers Initiatives. This annual event is one of our programs through the year. We start in January and things keep going. And I tell you, the way ASFI is nowadays, some of you agree with me that you are much more busy with ASFI work than you are even with your main work. I believe some people will agree with me here. So it's non-stop events happening throughout the year, right? But this event gives the climax of what we have been doing from January until now. A place to reflect, a place to rejoice, a place to interact, a place to share experiences. All right. So it's an important program for us. And I believe if this is your first time, please stay with us. You will not go back the same. I will see some things that will change, some things, noticeable things you will get from this event that will not only change the path of your career, but will reinvigorate your desire to bring a change. ASFI is growing, but it's also undergoing lots of transformation. And one of those is what is on your screen. All right. When we started, our goal was to raise the next generation of African scientists with the right competencies to drive Africa's developmental and transformational agenda through innovative scientific research. But as we walk this path in the last 5 years, we see lots of needs that African scientists requires, needs or has. That is why we have added 3 more. Perhaps the list will grow. All right. To raise the next generation of African scientists, not only with competencies, but with commitment, with the character and patriotism. When I mention this, you agree with me when I say that Africa is sick and very sick. It's not the ground we walk on, it's not the houses, it's not the trees. It's about the people. All right. So we think that there are things that we need to do to derive healing. Commitment, character refinement, our attitude, patriotism are all needed. So beyond this conference, I invite you. This is a movement that has started. I invite you to join this movement. I invite you to join this movement so that we can all work together to break the boundaries that need to be broken so that we can see the light ahead. All right. More than 300 scholars registered for this conference. I can see 111 of us here. I bet you more will join. The last 2 years, we have had close to 200 each time. And this year, I know that we will even be much more. And when we come together like this, the question I ask is, what can we not achieve together if we want? What can we not achieve? ASFI is a story that we can, and yes, we can. We can change the story of where we are today as a people. It doesn't matter where you find yourself. I'm here in Sweden. All right? I have people who are in Sudan. I have people who are in Saudi Arabia. I have those who are in Nigeria, scattered all over the world. But together, we can change our story. And this event, being successful, coming to this point, having it 3 times now, is an evidence that we can make a change. Can make a change. And I'm really excited because for many of us, this event did not start today. It started yesterday, actually, because we had a pre-conference workshops. We tested it, and The first workshop yesterday had 150 people attending. The second workshop in the evening had 130 people attending, which shows that even if we run 1 week program, many of you are ready to be there. We can mobilize our force. That is why we're here. We'll have different programs that we have scheduled for you to benefit both skills, both character transformation, attitude. They are all outlined. All right, before I conclude, I want to say that this event is about our potentials. It's about our today as well as our tomorrow. It's about turning ordinary things, ordinary people, to extraordinary people. It's about breaking status quo. It's about thinking outside the box. No, no, you may be in different disciplines, but this is applicable to everyone. In the arts, humanities, it's about you, it's about me, it's about Africa. It's about conversations, it's about community, it's about collaboration, so that we can form interactions that will help us to make a difference. After all is said and done, we must break boundaries in order to change Africa. Without it, we can do very little. I just want to say, in conclusion, those who have really worked hard behind the scenes to make this event happen, it's not something that was organized in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. No, it's something that has been organized, planned, executed from January. All right. Once this finishes now, before Christmas, the committee starts its work. It meets to look at what went well, what did not go well, and so on and so forth. And so my special thanks to them, to our keynote speakers, to moderators, the facilitators, those who have submitted their abstracts. And by the way, I have to say that last 2 events we had up to 80 abstracts submitted, accepted for the program. This year we have 120. That is a milestone we have achieved here. All right, special thanks go to Dr. Samuel Abanibe, who is the chair of the conference committee, to Dr. Eunice Fonze Fombele, who is the chair of the bootcamp committee, to various event subcommittees, Dr. Edna Majaliwa, Dr. Uchechi Onyedikachi, Prof. Abdul Hamidu, and to my colleagues in ASFI, Dr. Eman Sop and Dr. Ajibola Oladejo, and every one of you who have put effort, supported us, perhaps through encouragement, through prayers, and other support. Thank you for this opportunity, and I wish every one of you a wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, our distinguished professor, for this wonderful welcome and introduction. Next on the line is Dr. Emma Saw. She is the Director for Science and Communication, Associate Professor of Chest Disease, Al-Aha University, Egypt. She is also affiliated with Taba University in South Africa, but South Arabia. But before I call her on board, I just want to be sure that you've got some few points that Prof have mentioned. He said science must respond to societal need and global challenge. And he said the ultimate goal for research, 1, is to ensure longer and healthier life. I want to be sure you heard him very clearly. He mentioned about 7 points in the aspect of ultimate goal of research. Do you want to send me on a chat box? What are some of these goals of research? The ultimate goal of, I've mentioned one already, ensures longer and healthier life. What can you think about again? That is in connection to SDG
Dr. Kabai, we can't hear you. But Eman, you can start.
Welcome, everyone. It's my pleasure to have you all here in this dynamic event. The conference and the bootcamp is not just a collection of lectures. It is a platform for connection, communication, for learning, for transforming and bridging gap between science, knowledge, and hands-on training. So don't miss this opportunity to learn, connect, to communicate, and also have some fun and enjoyment. We have quizzes, we have hours, we have celebrations. So be with us. I will present some of ASFI activities which we have run through the previous years. We have several seminars and workshops. ASFI Science Seminar Series are a series that coordinate continuous conversations on Africa's science as a key to solving Africa's developmental needs and problems. The seminars are run monthly, and also we have workshops like Prof. Pride previously tips and tricks, and last year career talks 101 and career consultations. We have also hands-on courses on different scientific research methods, capacity building and career development, and also on science leadership and communication. We have also, yes, we have seminar series. I mentioned it. Next, please. Next. Yes, we have ASFI Research Journal. The ASFI Research Journal is a platform for publishing, for capacity building in reviewing and editing, and also it is affordable fees and a timely platform. Next. We have the ASFI mentoring program. We have the mentoring program is matched mentoring. We open a call for mentoring application, mentors and mentees. Then we make matching and then follow up during the year. The program is still ongoing. We have batches from the previous year and also from 2023 still ongoing, and we will open the call in 2026. Next. We have several capacity building courses like Art of Scientific Leadership, Systematic Reviews and Meta-Analysis, Art of Academic Supervision and Data Analysis and Software, Ethics in Research, Art of Scientific Writing and Publishing, and we have flagship courses like reproducibility in scientific research and research capacity, research quality, productivity, and impact. And also we will have next year mixed study design and qualitative data analysis. These courses are hands-on and giving the required skills and skill exchange also. We have platforms for communication and also capacity building like ASFI Scholar. The ASFI Scholar is a platform to connect, to learn, to mentor, and also to have visibility. We spoke yesterday about visibility and also to publish your research. ASFI Scholar has a continuation, which is ASFI Meet. ASFI Meet is a video platform, video conferencing, which you will see also. You will see the booster session is held on ASFI Meet. So keep tuned to be with us on these platforms and register and be there. Next. We developed the ASFI Members General Assembly. The General Assembly is composed of Senior Assembly and Junior Assembly. It has a president and also VPs. We have different VPs of science and communication. We have VPs for ethics. We have VPs for conference and events, for ethics, for membership, and also for conferences, and the president for Senior and Junior Assembly. We in 2025, we started the new tenor, and the assembly leaders will be with here today and next days. Next. The General Assembly started events like tea time and journal club, and these events are very communicative events for non-official, and also there is a fruitful discussion about science, so don't miss to attend this. We started journal club this month. Next. We in ASFI believe that science needs practice. So we have different research projects that are connected to Africa's problems, like research funding in Africa, research misconduct, umbrella review, started with race, ethnicity, and health, and also impact of COVID-19 on Africa's society. You will meet these projects in this program. Next. The annual conference and bootcamp, as you heard previously from Jerry and Prof. Bright, this is the third one. The conference and bootcamp involves several presentations, several hands-on workshops and hands-on sessions involving in bootcamp, and also it is a place for connections, and there is a product output from the bootcamp, like publishing. The annual conference and bootcamp this year has some change, that we have pre-conference workshops, and also we have several hours and prizes. Keep tuned to be with us in these sessions, and we have oral and poster abstract presentations. Next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Freeman. My name is Dr. Ajibola Oladejo, and I'm the ASFI Director of Administration, and I also work at the Covenant University, and I want to warmly welcome you all to the conference today. And one thing again is that I hope you are all settled in, but one thing that I would also like to add is some brief welcome and introduction to get you properly settled in. So from now, which is the 25th of November to the 27th of November, the event starts at 8 a.m. GMT every day. So please, I want you to take note of the GMT and then try to convert it to your own country-specific zone. Then also for the next 3 days, the program will end at 4 p.m. GMT. Then remember, our program is split into two. We have the conference sections and we have the bootcamp sections. So the conference section starts 8 a.m. to 12:30, 12 GMT thereabout. And then we have a lunch break of about 30 minutes. So that will also will really depend on the time that we finish the conference section. But normally they are within that 12 GMT to 12:30 GMT. Then we'll have our lunch break for 30 minutes. So this is where we can go ahead, have our lunch and stretch and relax. Then we return for the bootcamp section, which normally would start around that 13:00 GMT. Then remember, we are in a researchers gathering, and it is very important that each one is being addressed appropriately. So please, we would like to encourage you to please rename yourself, if you have not done so, with your first name and last name, so that you are properly addressed anytime you are being called to speak. Then another important section is the evaluation section, and this will come up at the end of the program for each day. That will be at the end of the bootcamp section. And please, over the years, we've started this conference and bootcamp for, this is the third year now, and the feedback we've received from 2023, 2024 really has helped us to make this 2025 conference better. So we really want to encourage you to please help us fill the evaluation form, and it takes just about 5 minutes. And of course, I know that this is the section where everybody is always so curious, and I've received lots of questions concerning this, which is the certificate of participation. Please, you should be aware that everyone who has fully participated for the 3 days, because we have a way where we record the numbers of hours that you have attended the conference, and we have some certain average that we use in doing that. So please, the certificate will be given to those who have fully participated in the 3 days conference, which is approximately 80% participation. And like I said, the system records everybody's participation. And also the certificate for all categories, for those who will be presenting their orals, for those who will be presenting their posters, the keynote speakers, everyone that has participated in the entire conference and boot camp. Then another section which is very important is the prizes and awards, and this will be coming up on the 3rd day of the conference. So please stay tuned. The boot camp, everyone who participates in the boot camp would be given a prize and an award. That is, if you are part of those who win in different subcategories. Then also we have the best paper prizes. We also have the best oral presentation, the best poster presentation. So all prizes and categories would all be catered for on the 3rd day of the introduction. And remember, this is a conference. We are here to, connect, to collaborate, to meet up. So please introduce yourself in the chat box, right? Introduce yourself, your name, your affiliation, what are your research interests, and you might really connect to a really fantastic set of people who you can really collaborate with. And remember, we are here to break boundaries. And one of the ways we break those boundaries is to network, is to be free, is to be ourselves, and is to collaborate, connect. And remember, this is a platform where we have almost every nationals from African continent. So this is a good time for you to connect with those that are in East Africa, with those that are in Southern Africa, Central Africa, and Northern Africa. And overall, I want to wish you a very good conference. And I want to also wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ajibola. She is the Director of Administration, ASFI. Thank you so much. We are glad to have you again. All right, Dr. Eunice, are you here? Can we have your presentation quickly? Just a remark before we swing into action. Dr. Eunice.
Thank you very much, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the conference after Prof. Bright and Dr. Eman has welcomed you. I'm so excited. I couldn't wait for this day. It has come. Please enjoy, have fun, collaborate, network, do everything to make sure that you live here with skills that you have acquired, with knowledge that you have garnered. Please just be at home. This is home for you. This is home for African scientists. Please show all the love that you have for African science. This is the space. Thank you very much and welcome. We are going to get into the program of the day with the conference and bootcamp, and then we are going to present to you what the bootcamp and the conference project is all about. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Eunice. Up next will be indeed to commence the program in detail. So get your pens, your notebook, and sit tight as we proceed to the first keynote speech. And this will be anchored by Dr. Vera Otiende. Dr. Vera, are you on board?
Yes, I'm on board. Okay. I hope you can hear me.
Well, loud and clear. Go ahead, please. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here in this conference again for the third time. For those who've attended the previous two, you know what excitement it is. I'm looking at the attendance and I can see very many familiar faces, and it's only telling me now we want to go beyond and do things differently. But let me control the excitement and honor the privilege of introducing Professor David Mikler, who is our first keynote speaker for the day. And so I'll go ahead and read his bio. Prof. David Mikler is a Dean Global, Africa and Founding Director, Center for Australia-Africa Relations in the Office of the Deputy Vice Chancellor Global and an Associate Professor of International Relations in the Faculty of Humanities at Curtin University, Perth. He is the co-chair of the flagship Australia-Africa Universities Network, AAUN, and he co-convenes the AAUN Emerging Leaders in Australia-Africa Diplomacy, which is ELAAD program. He has convened the Australia-Africa Literacy Program for the Australian Department at Foreign Affairs and Trade Diplomatic Academy in Canberra. Prof. Mikler is a future Africa visiting scholar at the University of Pretoria, South Africa, a research affiliate in the Department of Diplomacy and International Studies at the University of Nairobi, Kenya, and a senior fellow of the Higher Education Academy. He also serves as the Australian representative to the Indian Ocean Rim Association Academic Group and convenes the annual IORA Collaborative Regional Short Course International Relations in the Indian Ocean region. He's the founder and deputy co-chair of the IORA Indian Ocean University Network. He's also a member of the advisory board for the Organization of African Communities in Western Australia, the African Communities of Critical Security Scholars, and the Women in Security, Peace and Diplomacy Network in West Africa. Prof. Mikler was previously founding director of the African Research and Engagement Center at the University of Western Australia, chair of the faculty African Regional Strategy Group at the University of Melbourne, and inaugural co-chair of the Global Africa Group in the Worldwide University Network. He has also been a visiting scholar at Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia, and at the African Union Commission, Ethiopia and South Africa, and has developed academic partnerships in several African countries, including the African Green Hydrogen Hub in Kenya. His books include New Engagement, Contemporary Australian Foreign Policy Towards Africa, that was published in 2013, The African Union Addressing the Challenges of Peace, Security and Governance, published in 2016, and Africa and Sustainable Development Goals, published in 2020. He is a chief investigator on the African Research Council Discovery Project, African Impact in Australia, and co-editor in the book project Australia-Africa Science Diplomacy, Collaborative Research Policy, Impact and International Cooperation, which is under development. Prof. Mikler works closely on Africa and Indian Ocean research, teaching, training, and external engagement with a range of stakeholders in academia, government, industry, and diaspora communities. In 2018, he won the Community Pillar Excellence in Innovation Award at the Western Australian African Community Awards. In 2023, he won the Global Award for Leadership at Curtin University. In 2024, he won both the Friend of Zimbabwe Award at the National Australian Zimbabwe Achievers Award and the Global Impact Award at the Curtin University Global Recognition Awards. And this year, he won an individual award, Outstanding Contribution to the Advancement of African Australians at the inaugural African Australian Multicultural Celebration, hosted by the African Australian Advocacy Centre in Sydney. Please, let's all warmly welcome Prof. David. Karibu sana, Prof. David. You can always drop a chat in your language to just welcome him. Prof, take it on. Thank you.
Asante sana, Dr. Vera. Thank you very much for that very generous introduction. And thank you very much for the kind invitation to speak here at the African Science Frontiers Initiatives Conference for 2025. It's very exciting to be here. I'm deeply grateful to the ASFI founder and executive director, Professor Bright Nwaru, and the whole ASFI team for this wonderful opportunity to engage with you. And a big congratulations on convening this important and very impactful conference, the third conference, and with really great attendance. So it's a big congratulations to you. I hope you can understand my Australian accent. Sometimes we have to translate Australian into English. So if you have any trouble with my accent, let me know. I'm based here at Curtin University in Perth, which is in Western Australia on the Indian Ocean coast, which actually is the part of Australia that faces towards the African continent. So we feel connected across the Indian Ocean to Africa here. Now, it's a tradition in Australia that we formally acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we live and work. And this is part of Australia's ongoing process of reconciliation with the Indigenous peoples of this land, whose history goes back 65,000 years as the oldest continuing culture living in the world. Of course, impacted by the British colonisation of the country in the late 18th century. So I therefore acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which I live and work here in Perth, and I pay my respect to elders past and present. I would also like to acknowledge that this is and always will be Aboriginal land, and that their sovereignty was never ceded as part of the colonial process. I also acknowledge the value of Indigenous knowledge systems, including the ways in which they inform our understandings of and relationships to each other, to country and to the world around us. So that's an important tradition that we always do at the start of a presentation in Australia. Now, I'm not African. I was born in Australia. I've lived and worked in Australia for most of my career, although I have been visiting Africa regularly for the last 15 or so years as part of my academic work. So my connection to the African continent really comes from my PhD supervisor back in the mid-2000s, Professor Samuel Makinda, who was a Kenyan academic based in Australia. And at the time, he was, I think, the only African professor in my field in Australia. So I was very excited and privileged to have the opportunity to work with him and to be mentored by him. And indeed, we still collaborate to this day. So through supervising my fourth year honours and then PhD projects, Professor Makinda turned my wider interest in international politics into a particular focus on Africa's international relations, including by examining African ways of thinking and practicing politics and governance and diplomacy. So for me, after graduating my PhD that had an Africa focus, I realized that there were very few Africa focused centers or programs in Australia for me to contribute to. So I've spent the subsequent time working with a relatively small group of colleagues here in Australia to build platforms at Australian universities that help to connect our two continents through building knowledge of each other, what we call Australia-Africa literacy, but also building science diplomacy between our two continents. And I'll talk a bit more about that, of course, today. So I provide this personal background and story for several reasons. Firstly, it demonstrates the important contributions made by members of the African diaspora, including the science diaspora, to human capacity building, knowledge production, and broader international cooperation in Australia. My supervisor now proudly cites the work that I have subsequently done as one of his own principal contributions to Australia's knowledge economy as a Kenyan migrant academic. So I'm therefore the direct product of African diasporic academic excellence. This is truly this notion of beyond boundaries, making an impactful contribution as an African diaspora academic, producing someone from Australia who then engages through the academic sector with Africa. Secondly, it also demonstrates the importance of context. So I work from within a specific context of Australia-Africa relations, which is one in which both Australia and the African continent really sit at each other's margins in terms of knowledge and engagement. There's subsequently very little wider government policy or strategy or available funding or even mainstream visibility for this work that myself and others are doing. It does sit at the margins. And it's useful to consider this context within the wider framing of global North, global South relations, including in relation to the higher education and research sector, in which Australia does not neatly fit within that binary, perhaps in relation to other countries in Europe and North America. So I do work from a particular context, and I think we all work from particular contexts, and that's important to remember. And thirdly, the background demonstrates both the opportunities and challenges of using science diplomacy to build education partnerships across continents to benefit both society and science over the long term. And in the case of Australia-Africa collaboration, this is really a very long-term project starting from quite a low base of resources and interest from both sides. So I've just provided that context to help situate myself in this discussion. So in this address, I'd like to discuss the concept and practice of science diplomacy, drawing on examples from my work and the work of others over the last 15 or so years in building Australia-Africa collaborations through the higher education and research sector. Science diplomacy and its related terms and concepts such as knowledge diplomacy, education diplomacy, or academic diplomacy is a useful concept for thinking about the various dimensions of the relationships between individual academics or scientists or researchers or scholars, the institutions they work for, such as universities or research institutes, and wider diplomatic relationships between the countries in which those people and institutions are based. Now, when we think about traditional diplomacy, we normally associate this with the official business of governments, of states. And the Oxford English Dictionary defines diplomacy as, quote, the management of international relations by negotiation, the methods by which these relations are adjusted and managed by ambassadors and envoys, the business or art of the diplomatist. End quote. Kerr and Wiseman in 2023 contended that the function of diplomacy is that, quote, diplomats in ministries of foreign affairs and missions abroad represent, report, and communicate their state's interests, end quote. And Pigman agrees that, quote, representation and communication are the two core functions of diplomatic actors and activities. As such, traditional diplomacy is seen as the business of governments. And there are many, many types of diplomacy that governments are engaged in, bilateral diplomacy, multilateral, crisis diplomacy, summit diplomacy, digital diplomacy, public diplomacy, and so on. But what we're interested in here is the diplomatic roles played by non-state actors, including in what's called track 1.5 or track 2 diplomacy, where academics are often invited into meetings by governments, but also beyond these existing channels for dialogue. And here I really like Bertrand Badie's 2013 concept of what he calls an evolving intersocial diplomacy in a globalized world. This idea of intersocial diplomacy rather than international diplomacy. And this intersocial diplomacy opens the door to a more independent role for actors in the academic world engaging in practices of science diplomacy. So Badie writes, quote, the emerging global order incorporates new sets of relationships, or what might be called intersocial relations, between peoples, groups, and sovereign states. In these complex new relationships, social issues are becoming dominant, and international social integration among the various international actors is becoming an accepted norm of international diplomatic activity. Under these changing circumstances, social actors such as private individuals and non-governmental organizations are acquiring new instruments and resources for participating autonomously in diplomatic activities. So science diplomacy then, as a form of intersocial diplomacy, refers to various connections between, on the one hand, science and knowledge, and on the other hand, policymaking and diplomacy in the contexts of international cooperation. And here we take, I take an inclusive definition of science to include natural science, human science, social science, and the other branches of science, an inclusive definition. Now, in 2010, the Royal Society produced a foundational report called New Frontiers in Science Diplomacy, where it usefully outlined three main dimensions of this concept. The first dimension is science in diplomacy, and what that means is informing foreign policy objectives and decisions with scientific advice. So making sure that government policy, particularly in relation to international policy, is informed by good science. And you could think here of fields like climate change, like health and pandemics, like in relation to new technologies. The desire to have government policies informed by good science rather than by political considerations. The second dimension is what's called diplomacy for science. And this refers to using traditional diplomatic mechanisms to facilitate international science cooperation. So this might include things like governments sponsoring major international scientific conferences or funding major collaborative scientific studies that would bring benefits across borders. So using diplomacy to advance scientific collaboration internationally. The third formulation is science for diplomacy. And this refers to using science cooperation that's already taking place to improve international relations between countries. So in other words, when you have good collaboration between, say, universities across borders, this might be a reason for governments to start collaborating in a more productive way, building on the science collaboration. Now, building on this, we can also examine the institutional role of universities as the principal academic institutions in our societies in undertaking forms of international diplomacy themselves. And I can see at least two roles for universities here in this respect. The first is universities building and managing international collaborations among themselves or among academic institutions. So this is where, for those of us who have worked in, for example, the international office of a university, you are actually involved in negotiating partnerships between universities, signing collaboration MOUs, signing research partnership agreements. It might be a student exchange agreement or an agreement to have a joint PhD program, or it might be about joining an international university network. These are all essentially diplomatic functions that universities perform in building science collaboration with one another. The second role for universities is to be a tool for building wider collaboration between countries. And this is where some governments use their own universities as a tool of what's called soft power in their international diplomacy. They actually position universities as strategic tools of government when they want to build a partnership with another country. They can start with or include university-to-university collaboration as a tool of soft power to that end. Now consider, for example, the structure of a university's international or global office and map that structure onto the roles and functions of a foreign ministry. And you'll find that there's a number of similarities across the institutional structures. For example, a deputy vice chancellor global or a vice president international might actually perform similar functions to the foreign minister of a government for their own institution. And the increasing establishment of universities having overseas branch campuses in other regions and countries also provides those universities with a form of embassy operating overseas. with the head of that campus serving a similar role to an ambassador. And these overseas campuses actually build deeper direct knowledge about those regions in which the campuses sit. They provide a channel for direct communication on what's happening in that region. And they also provide greater visibility for the university and serve to represent the university's interests internationally. So we can start to see here how universities can actually perform some of these functions that we traditionally associate with governments and with traditional diplomacy. Now, I want to share some thoughts on this idea of universities providing a kind of science diplomacy or academic diplomacy. Firstly, I think we need to understand context, as I said at the start of the presentation. These issues are thought about and practiced differently in different regions and countries and contexts. The status of a university in a particular country can take on a very different form to that of another country. In some countries, universities are still held up as the central institution of national development. But in other countries, we see universities being attacked as being a waste of money and the source of all problems of society. So there's quite a lot of difference in the way universities are positioned in their own countries. Of course, the level of independence of of universities in different countries is also variable. Some universities are very closely tied to government. And in fact, senior leaders of universities are appointed directly by governments, whereas in other cases, they're more independent from government. So when we think of science diplomacy, we need to understand the relationship between universities and their own governments in relation to that diplomacy. Universities also have significant convening power, or the ability to bring diverse stakeholders together. Because universities have usually the right facilities, technologies, and legitimacy to perform the role of being the place that people convene, this can be used strategically as a tool of academic diplomacy. And finally, we need to think about how different universities have different approaches to international collaboration. Some universities are very focused on local development needs and are not particularly focused on international collaboration. Other universities have very elaborate structures for pursuing science diplomacy, but others don't and don't have the resources to do that. So we need to understand the variability across different types of institutions. Secondly, academic diplomacy is normally considered to be a relatively positive activity. It usually involves some level of win-win relationships. It usually doesn't have the same level of coercion that traditional government diplomacy has. And as I said earlier, it can be seen as a form of soft power, an attractive form of partnership that might lead to the building of friendly relations in other areas beyond the higher education sector. Thirdly, academic diplomacy has limitations, and we need to be realistic about its impact. Firstly, most universities don't have the same level of resources as countries, although some universities do have very significant multi-billion-dollar endowments. But many universities across the world don't have that kind of resourcing to be able to put towards building academic diplomacy practices. Universities are also subjected to rapid changes in government policies and changes in global conditions, which affect how they can operate. They're not necessarily powerful enough to be able to operate independently of some geopolitical trends, or, for example, if a country-to-country relationship breaks down at the diplomatic level, that might actually mean the cutting off of certain academic collaboration, whether it's research or student exchanges and so on. So we need to be careful to think about the relationship between universities and the wider geopolitical and political environment. Universities also have often trust challenges with government. There's a healthy skepticism, I think, between universities and governments. There's opportunities, of course, to collaborate, and in many cases, there's a reliance on resources coming from government to universities, but there's not always a level of trust, given that, for example, some science challenges government policy and is critical of government policy. So we need to be aware of that. And we also need to be conscious of the historical and contemporary inequalities, not just globally in the broader geopolitical environment, but also within the higher education and research sector. So even though there's potential for win-win scenarios in academic diplomacy, there's also structural power imbalances and resourcing imbalances that need to be very clearly put on the table as part of any diplomatic negotiation by universities. And finally, there's the question of how do we measure the impact or success of academic diplomacy? What are the objectives that we would be trying to achieve through pursuing this form of international collaboration? Is it about building research partnerships? Is it measured by the level of research impact or grants, collaborative grants achieved? Is it about the level of student recruitment, the level of exchange programs, joint teaching and research programs? Perhaps it's measured by the impact of collaborations on local communities. Or is it measured through the impact that university to university collaboration can have on wider international diplomatic outcomes? So thinking through exactly what we're trying to achieve and how we would measure success is an important part of thinking about the value of science diplomacy. So I want to turn now to share some examples of Australia-Africa platforms that we've created to build understanding and collaboration between our two continents. So as mentioned above, I work from a very specific context in which Africa sits at the margins of Australia's national knowledge and engagement. And likewise, Australia is quite marginal to thinking in many African countries, from my experience, when it comes to where Australia sits in the wider international system. And maybe there's a few countries like South Africa, Kenya, Mauritius, where Australia has a bit more visibility, but overall, I think we would be quite low on the list of awareness and priorities for many African countries. And so for this reason, I've been quite interested in thinking about the role of academic diplomacy as a way to build broader interest from the Australian society and Australian government in partnerships with Africa. So in this particular context, academic diplomacy takes on quite an important role, but again, that might be different in different contexts to the one I work in. So Australia has its origins as a British colony, but for the past 50 or so years, the country has sought to integrate with Asia as a modern multicultural society. And this engagement in Asia has been largely successful for Australia, certainly economically very, very successful. But this concentration of attention on Asia for Australia has really meant that other regions of the world have been marginalized, and Africa is one of those. So we don't currently have an Australian national strategy for how to engage with Africa. And this makes it difficult for universities to plug into a wider strategy. So for the higher education and research sector, what this means in terms of how it's reflected is that we have a historically limited number of institutional partnerships between Australia and Africa. We have a limited number of joint research projects, limited collaborative research grant opportunities, limited funded staff and student exchange opportunities. We have a relatively limited number of African students studying in Australia and even less Australian students studying in Africa. We have no African studies degree anywhere in Australia and also no Australian studies degree anywhere in Africa. And we currently have only 2 Africa-focused centres at Australian universities. So that just gives you a bit of a snapshot at how marginal this relationship is both at the wider political level, but also within the higher education and research sector. Now, myself and two African colleagues, research colleagues, are currently exploring questions around understanding Australia-Africa relations through decolonial lenses. And in one of our first papers, we found a, quote, lack of a neat fit within a historicized articulation of colonizer-colonized relationship that we see between Europe and Africa. And we show that despite this lack of fit, Australia's relations with the countries of Africa reinforce long-standing patterns of knowledge, power, and being associated with colonialism. So in this context, we've also sought to examine Australia-Africa higher education collaborations in terms of whether this relative marginality and the relative newness of the relationships actually opens up space to have more innovative practice in higher education collaboration and not fall into repeating the long-standing structures and engagements and exploitation that we've seen between global North and global South universities in other contexts and historically. So that's the context that we are working in, both at the margins, but in this interesting space where we're thinking through what does Australia-Africa collaboration actually mean in the wider context of global North-South relations. So we've taken up the challenge of thinking critically about this, but also in doing so, trying to build platforms in a practical sense for Australia-Africa collaboration through the higher education sector. So using academic diplomacy to do this. So I just want to highlight some of these platforms to give you some examples of the work that we're doing. Now, the first of these is the Australia-Africa Universities Network, AAUN. This was a network established back in 2013, and it's premised on an idea of equal governance and equal resourcing. So we have a co-chair arrangement, one co-chair from Australia, one from Africa. We have separate steering committees who meet jointly and separately for both continents. We have a funding model that is based on our institutional membership fees. So universities pay an annual fee to join. That money is then pooled collectively to be used for the activities of the network. We also receive some funding from the South African National Research Foundation on top of the membership fee. We have now 26 university members, 11 from Australia and 15 from Africa. We hold annual high-level forums, 2 each year, one in Australia, one in Africa, rotating around. Most recently, we had forums in Rwanda on AI and higher education, and here in Australia on the just energy transition. And in these forums, we bring together senior academic leaders, senior and junior and early career researchers, students, diplomats, policymakers, and other community representatives. We also have an annual memorial lecture, which we use to focus attention on Australia-Africa cooperation. We run an annual research seed funding scheme for members of the network. And the rules, again, are that at least 2 Australian and 2 African universities have to be part of the application. The application themes are pre-agreed on areas of mutual expertise, such as climate change, agriculture, public health, AI, and a few others. And then when we allocate the grants, we make sure that an equal number are led by African CIs and Australian CIs. So again, this equal partnership model is quite central to the way that we operate. We also launched in the last 18 months an early career researchers group, specifically within the network, to support the development of the next generation of researchers on both sides of the ocean. And we've attached an annual research prize to the ECR group. So there'll be one prize for an Australian-based winner and one prize for an African-based winner. As part of the network, we also launched the Emerging Leaders in Australia-Africa Diplomacy Initiative. And this program is a virtual program for master's level students from the 26 members of the network, as well as junior diplomats from Australia and African countries involved. So we bring together this cohort who are either aspiring diplomats or scholars or current serving diplomats to look at how we can collaborate across various themes and providing professional development training. The network's also been involved in developing collaborative research projects. So we currently have a book project on Australia-Africa science diplomacy, which has a very deliberate co-authorship model where each chapter is co-authored by 3 people, again, with a mix of African-based lead authors and Australian-based lead authors. And the book also involves policymakers and diplomats. So again, we're trying to use this notion of science diplomacy or academic diplomacy to connect scholars and policymakers and diplomats in this endeavor. Now, we've also launched since then another network, the Indian Ocean University Network, launched about a year ago in Mauritius. This one now has 12 foundational member universities from across Africa, Asia, and Australia. Again, it has a co-chair model, in this case between Australia and Mauritius. But this one is a bit different, this network, because we've linked this network directly to the Indian Ocean Rim Association, which is the intergovernmental body for the region. And this is an experiment in more direct science diplomacy, where we're attaching a university collaboration network to an international organization. And it's a bit of an experiment in how that works. Again, we have a membership fee-based model, so we scale that based on national development indicators. So richer countries pay more and so on, but the money is then pooled and used to redistribute to the activities of the network. We'll have a high-level forum where, again, we bring together both scholars and policymakers, and this will be held next year in Kenya. We have a short course program for master's level students, which looks at the international relations of the Indian Ocean region. So again, we're building academic collaboration in the next generation of scholars and policymakers. And we'll also have a seed funding research grant internally to the network, which will focus on priority themes that are already agreed by the countries of the region. And in this case, it focuses on issues like maritime safety, the blue economy, women's economic empowerment, illegal fishing, impact of climate on the oceans, and so on. A third network that we've been involved in is the Worldwide Universities Network Global Africa Group. This was established in 2015, and it has a particular Australia-Africa focus, or at least connection, because the executive director of the network was Australian, and then the inaugural co-chairs of the network were from Australia and South Africa. And in this network, we developed a quite innovative model, which was to focus the research activities on the 3 African members of the wider network. I think it was a 24-member network, of which 3 were African. And so we developed a regional research hubs model where we centered the research priorities and activities on University of Ghana as the West Africa hub, University of Nairobi as the East Africa hub, and University of Cape Town as the Southern Africa hub. This helped to center African research priorities in a wider network that was largely directed by its majority Euro and American members. Through this network, we developed a major collaborative research project that resulted in a book called Africa and the Sustainable Development Goals, which again took this deliberate co-authored structure where we had both African chapter leads and chapter leads from other countries in the network. The subsequent co-chair team also developed the African Charter on Transformative Research Collaboration. So this is quite a widely acclaimed set of principles for how the global North and Africa can collaborate on research. So this was originally developed out of that same Global Africa group in the network. So we can see the value of this kind of science diplomacy in creating principled collaborative research outputs. And just briefly, a couple of other initiatives that we've developed both bilaterally and collectively. We've launched the Africa Green Hydrogen Hub at Strathmore University in Nairobi as a partnership between a couple of Australian universities, Strathmore University, the Kenyan government, and industry partners. And this will be a research and education hub for new technologies around the energy transition in East Africa. We've also got a campus in Mauritius, so Curtin University Mauritius, which is currently the only Australian university campus anywhere in Africa. And as I said earlier, this serves as a kind of embassy in thinking about it in relation to academic diplomacy. It's a 21-year partnership with a Mauritian education provider. It offers both transnational education, but also research collaboration. So we have a Centre for Ocean, Earth Science and Technology there. This features Australian degrees from our home campus taught by Mauritian academics in Mauritius to students from Mauritius, but also coming from other African countries as international students, around 2,000 students on the campus. And this is also promoting inter-campus mobility between different campuses in our network. And just finally, I just wanted to highlight back here in Australia, we have those 2 Africa-focused centres within Australian universities. So one is the one that I'm director of at Curtin University, which is the Centre for Australia-Africa Relations. This was launched in 2023 by our Vice-Chancellor. And it's really a platform to think through the connections both on the African continent itself, but also here in Australia to the diaspora, to diaspora academics, diaspora students, diaspora communities, but also Australian government and policymakers and so on. We have a number of initiatives, one including a major national research project looking at the political and economic agency of the African diaspora in Australia. And we also convene a range of other initiatives like study tours. For example, we took a group of Australian Indigenous students and staff to Mauritius and South Africa for a study tour and cultural exchange. The only other African centre in Australia is the Centre for African Engagement at RMIT University in Melbourne. And this was only launched a few months ago. But it's a similar platform in seeking to use academic diplomacy to connect stakeholders in Africa with those here in Australia, particularly in the diaspora, which is a really important and very rapidly growing dimension of the relationship. So to conclude, I want to leave you with a few things to think about in terms of pursuing science diplomacy in your own work and within your own institutions and networks. So first, I would say to be conscious about the links between science and diplomacy in your own work, and consider how you might position and leverage your work within these wider contexts to increase the impact of what you're doing. As part of this, I would suggest to critically consider the political interests involved in the different formulations of science diplomacy. Really think through what is at stake here, who benefits and who loses, and what strategies can be effective given the political implications involved. Secondly, I would ask, how can African leadership of science diplomacy be advanced? And here we need to consider the roles and agency of both African governments, African institutions, universities, as well as individual scholars and scientists, and including African diaspora scientists, which I think is an understudied but potentially highly valuable set of contributors to this science diplomacy initiative. And perhaps consider joining or even establishing science diplomacy platforms in your own areas of work as a way to build these collaborative forms of international impact. Now, African Science Frontiers Initiatives is a fantastic example of this already happening, and you're, of course, already involved through this conference and beyond. But what other platforms are there out there? One of them that we work with is the South African government's Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa initiative. That's maybe one to have a look at. And finally, in this era of global disruption caused by geopolitical conflict, attacks on science, rising inequality, climate change, and rapid technological advancement, how can we collectively best practice science diplomacy to advance the interests of science and society across the world? And you only have to look at the Royal Society's latest science diplomacy report, which is 15 years after their original one, which I started the presentation with. They're now asking questions about, quote, science diplomacy in an era of disruption. And this is going to, I think, present very, very important opportunities and, in fact, necessities for us to collectively pursue science diplomacy in the face of these major global challenges that we face. So I'll leave it there, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Prof. David. I don't know what the others feel, but for me, this has just been, I would say we've been walking through a live map, of connecting ideas, possibilities, thinking about Australia on one side and Africa on the other side, and seeing how Prof. David is actually pulling all these vibrant threads through the middle of the world, yeah? I don't know what each of you felt. You can express your reactions, you can post your comments on the chat, but most importantly, we want to appreciate the fact that Prof. David has actually spoken to a lot of bold leadership, engagement, community voices, connecting with Africa and being very purposeful, not just storylines or taglines, but thinking about how can we collaborate globally, how can we build bigger, how can we empower loudly, and most importantly, how do we stay connected? Thank you so much, Prof, for this fire, for the clarity and for the vision that you have brought. I want to take this back to Jerry to provide guidance on whether we should proceed with a few questions, or maybe, Jerry, if you're here. Jerry, can you hear me? Yes, Jerry, go ahead.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Vera, for that awesome. I think we're just going to proceed. It's a keynote, so I'm not sure we're going to do any Q&A. So we just invite Dr. Bright for just speak both of thanks on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Prof. Bright, over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. David. You can see the reaction, and I think this is reassuring for Africa, because there is a leeway we have, and we can hear from your voice saying that you have a brother, even though we are not from the same continent. But I think your career has really given you opportunity to have some understanding that support your motivation for what you're doing. So this is really great platform. It's not the first time I'm hearing some of this, but there are other aspects I heard today. And that really makes me to be happy that we made a very good choice to invite you to this conference. Your presentation aligns so much with our theme. I know how busy you are. It's not easy to get you. I was really humbled when you, without hesitation, said yes. So thank you for that. We appreciate this opportunity. Some of the things you have said here are not things a platform like ASFI is used to, because it's a high stake strategies. But I know that this is an open door we have made, because as you can see, there are many young researchers within the ASFI platform. that can be, from what I said during my opening speech, African science needs to become more visible, not just in the research aspect, but in the aspect you have mentioned now in diplomacy. Somebody was commenting there, said, well, perhaps African scientists have run away from where the game is happening, and the politicians have taken the stage. Perhaps that is contributing to our situation. So the point I'm making here is that we have an opportunity of a cohort of people who are hungry, who can be mobilized to develop these perspectives, these skills. And I think if we get it right, the future is really will be bright. So thank you for offering your time. I really appreciate this. And one thing in ASFI is that we don't get people once and we leave them. We hold on to them. So I know you are busy, but please be open that opportunities may come where we'll ask you, please, we need you to talk to us. The way you frequent Africa nowadays, I think maybe you stay more in Africa than even in Australia. So, so you are part of us now. Yes. So thank you very much, David. I appreciate this. And many have been asking, how can we get in touch? I tell you, Prof. David is one of the most visible people I know on LinkedIn. Right. So if you want to get in touch, just follow him. He's releasing information. He's just dishing it out, whatever is happening around his corner, or the encounters he has, exciting ones, he's releasing them. Some of the scholarships he mentioned, he's always posting them. I hope you can just go on LinkedIn, type his name, and then follow him. Those information will be coming up. And as I mentioned, if anything comes from our end that we can invite him up, we will do that. So thanks very much, David. We appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bright and Vera, and to everyone for listening and engaging. And I'd be very, very happy to follow up. And I think, Bright, we've been having a discussion about how we can connect ASFI to the Australia-Africa University Network. So that's something we certainly want to pursue. And I'll leave my contact email and LinkedIn tag in the chat so that people can get in touch with me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Jerry, over to you, please. Jerry, are you there? Jerry, are you there?
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. All right. Up next is the award. I want to call the award committee. Dr. Edna, are you here? Dr. Edna. The best three papers in our journal meeting issue, and that will be handled by Dr. Edna. Or do we have any the award committee who are here to take us through this particular segment? Okay, Dr. Brad, please, could you mute or mute Dr. Edna? Fantastic. Dr. Edna, please go ahead. You're muted and you're a co-host.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to the third virtual conference and bootcamp, Beyond Boundaries. I'm Ena Majaliwa, a chair for awarding committee. ASFI stands for excellency and rewards excellency. True to this identity, ASFI, through its diverse programs, activities, and platform, has continued to create meaningful avenues to honor members of our community who exemplify dedication, innovation, and distinction in their work. Since the inaugural edition of the annual conference and bootcamp in 2023, ASFI has presented a range of awards to both individual and group for exceptional achievement. As SFI's programs have expanded, so too have our award categories. This year's recognition spanned best papers published in the SFI Research Journal, the most productive and performing collaborative research group, the top project group in the bootcamp, and the 3 best oral and poster presentation. Each year, an award committee is entrusted with the responsibility of identifying the most deserving of this award among us. This year, I've had the honor of serving as a chairperson of that committee. Ladies and gentlemen, the work of the committee is far from simple, yet it has been a fulfilling and inspiring journey. I can confidently say that every member of the committee has worked with deep commitment to uphold the integrity of the process. Our task is not quite finished. We still have the exciting responsibility of selecting the best bootcamp project group during the event. All award winners will be unveiled on the final day of the conference, so please stay tuned. But at the moment, I'm here to reveal the winners of the Distinguished Award category, the best papers published in the ASFI Research Journal in 2025, and the most outstanding collaborative research group of the year. Presenting these awards now allows the winners to enrich our scientific program by sharing the key messages from their work with all of us. Last year, we recognized the top 3 papers overall. This year, however, acknowledging the diversity of the manuscript published in the ASFI Research Journal, we sought to honor excellence within each category of the paper. Additionally, early this year, ASFI established 12 collaborative research groups, initiative designed to nurture vibrant multidisciplinary teams. And after a careful and rigorous appraisal, the award committee identified the group that distinguished itself through productivity, collaboration, and impact. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment has come. Allow me to invite the winners of this award category to each take maximum of 5 minutes to share the essence of their papers and projects as the case may be. And the first presenter is Dr. Taiba Elias Mohammed, who wins the category of original research paper. And the paper is titled In Silicon Evaluation of the Effectivity of Approved Antiviral Against the RNA-Dependent RNA Polymerase of the Sudanese SARS-2 COVID-2 samples. Welcome, Dr. Taiba.
Is she in the room? Taiba, if you're in the room, you can raise your hand so that we see you to give you permission to unmute. Taiba, if you're in the room, can you just raise your hand? I don't see her in the room.
Yeah, maybe Edna, maybe we can make progress if she's not here.
Teiba, if you're here, can you let us know?
She was in the room now, not seeing her.
All right, maybe we can go to the next person. If
Possibly we may move to the next. And our next presenter is Dr. Valerie Dwai, who wins category of the perspective paper. And the paper is titled Celebrating 5 Years of African Science Frontiers Initiatives, Scholars' Experiences. Dr. Dwai, you're welcome on the floor. Thank you.
Thanks, Program Director. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks, colleagues. Thanks, everyone who's in this platform, and thanks to the award committee for deciding on this paper. This was a collaborative research project which involved ASFI members operating in the collaborative international research space. It's per the title that is indicated. I'm depending on the logistics people on the other side to take us through the slides. Next slide, please. Basically, this research project was based on a critical realist perspective, which is built around 3 axioms. 1, a structure, a strategy, a platform, or a policy is not the proxy for the actual results. Secondly, the reason why that is the case is because there will always be contestations around knowledge. And number 3, to resolve those contestations will always be a question of the roles or agency that needs to be played. This was well captured by the first keynote speaker and linked to Professor Bright's opening statement that to create ASFI and to embark on the projects that we did was all about transformative agency. So as this group, we therefore decided to reflect on the experiences some of us have had to date as to whether we've managed to assume transformative agency in terms of the choices that we could make by embracing the values and the principles that ASFI stand for, and in a way that could promote our scholarship and improve our career development. So this was more about reflecting on our activities as researchers in the project, and in our reflections, we adopted specifically the scholarly personal narrative and the critical realist perspective, as I've just briefly outlined. We did more of the content analysis by focusing on the themes that emerged from our analysis, and the findings indicated how to transform ourselves as the scholars. Next slide, please. So there were 7 researchers involved, multinationals from different countries, as outlined on this slide, from Cameroon to Nigeria to Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria again, Tanzania, Nigeria once more. So you can pick up on these slides first case evidence about how the actors experienced their involvement in the project, from being, members of the ASFI, participating in the collaborative international research projects, from how they were before they joined this project and the kind of changes that they experienced, how they interacted with the person of Professor Bright Nwaru in terms of being the embodiment of hope in terms of transforming a scholarship in Africa, how Professor Bright Nwaru became the true leader in the process and a great mentor, the workshops and the seminars, the conferences that were involved in as far back as 2023, and the personal experiences of our direct involvement, including some awards that we received. Next slide, please. So when we then began to interrogate these testimonials or these personal experiences, we've initially took the narrative approach in terms of what the actors were saying, but then we delved deeper into what is well published as the 4 principles of being a leader. Those principles are listed as leadership as integrity, leadership as authenticity, leadership as being the cause in the matter, the power of taking a stand on the matter, and leadership as the value of living for a vision that is bigger than yourselves. Then we wanted to ask a question: to what extent was our involvement in ASFI and in this project and under the current leadership managed to attest to these principles? Next slide, please. So the question of leadership as integrity. We discovered that indeed our involvement in the project proved the mantra that integrity is the basic principle that holds everything together, and without integrity, nothing can work. In simple language, when the integrity of the messenger is in question, no one will believe the message. Leaders who demonstrate integrity are transparent, are trustworthy, and are consistent in their words and in action. Nowhere else we could witness this particular principle than how we interacted amongst ourselves and as led by the leadership of the ASFI. Next slide, please. The second principle was a question of leadership as authenticity. This is the case where leaders who are authentic are true to themselves and their values, and they inspire others to do the same. Being authentic is being and acting consistent and in ways that emphasizes the importance of leaders having a clear vision with who they hold themselves to be, especially in relation to others. The third principle. Next slide, please. Leadership as being the cause in the matter. That is, leadership as being about the power of taking a stand on the matter. Here we discovered that leaders who are willing to take a stand demonstrate courage, conviction, and a commitment to their values. And to explain this principle, the quotation is that without this foundation for being a leader, while you may be given the role of a leader and even have the title, and perhaps even the authority and decision rights, you can forget about actually being a leader and exercising leadership effectively if you can't understand the power of taking a stand on the matter. The last principle. Next slide, please. The last principle is all about living for something that is bigger than yourself, where we could identify that the very idea that Professor Bright Nwaru could have, together with very good people he worked with, and how they realized this platform and the work that took place, even the timing was more about living for a value that is bigger than yourself and acting the vision itself. It's all about legitimacy, credibility, reputation, which were thus unimaginable about ASFI at the time, but would grow ASFI beyond the borders of what it was pre-2021. So in other words, when we started ASFI in many years back, that was before COVID-19, but what we're experiencing today is a clear indicator and a case of how to live for a vision that is bigger than self. The last slide. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the paper that apparently has been assessed as being deemed of getting an award, and as the team, as the leader of the team, would like to thank the award committee. So those who would like to access the paper is available per this slide, and I would like to thank everyone. Thanks, leadership.
Thank you, Dr. Dalile. And our next and final for the best ASFI journal is Dr. Eunice from Bele, and in the category of opinion and poem.
Edna,
the
we
title
have Taba in the house now. Do you want her to go?
Beg your pardon, I didn't hear. Sorry.
We have Taba in here now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Please, Taya, you're welcome for the original paper.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Taya. Sorry. Good evening, everyone. I'm Taya, and it is a true honor for our paper to receive this award. And I am grateful for this recognition. It is a pleasure to be presenting at this conference. My presentation is titled in silico evaluation of the effectivity of approved antiviral against RNA-dependent RNA of Sudanese SARS-CoV-2 sample. This work explores a computational approach to identifying effective treatment of COVID-19 using regional genomic data. Our research objective is clear. It is aimed to study and evaluate the efficacy of existing approved antiviral drugs against the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase of SARS-CoV-2 samples, specifically collected in Sudan and from Sudanese samples. We accomplish this evaluation through use of the molecular docking analysis. Our methodologies for our research or our paper is followed a standard and rigorous pipeline for in silico drug repurposing. Here is the preparation phase. We first retrieved the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase sequence from Sudanese SARS-CoV-2 samples. This sequence were then aligned with the well-established Wuhan reference strain using the crystal omega alignment tool. Then the three-dimensional structure of protein is predicted by using the Swiss model homology modeling server. The next step is about drug selection and molecular docking. The 10 drugs of antiviral approved antiviral drugs were selected from the PubMed and Think 15 databases. After that, the molecular docking simulations was performed with the software virus to assess drug protein interaction. This simulation is essentially predict how well and how strongly that a drug molecule will binding to viral protein target. Finally, the resulting drugs protein interaction were visualized and analyzed by using bimol and discovery studio. Okay. Our key finding of the key finding of our research, we achieved several important results. Encouragingly, all 10 approved drugs binding successfully to the SARS-CoV RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Also, we found that RNA-dependent polymerase sequence from Sudanese samples have a very high similarity, about 98.2% to the Wuhan reference strain. This indicates that this RNA-dependent remains a highly conserved and reliable therapeutic target. Now, please look at this table, which summarizes the binding affinities measured in kilocalorie per mole. the most significant findings, that is galdisphere and benzcyclovir, have the strongest binding affinity at minus 6.3 kilocalorie per mole, followed by baloxifir, which have the minus 6.1 kilocalorie per mole. This is strong negative affinity suggests a high potential for efficacy. On other end, bimodifir shows the lowest binding at minus 2.8 kilocalorie per mole. On this slide, we show or we visualize the result for our topic candidate, galdisphere, to provide detailed molecular view of the predicted interaction with the RDP RNA polymerase. Panel A shows the overall surface interaction of the binding of the drug within the pocket of the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. In panel B detail the interaction sites, illustrating a specific chemical connection. Panel C highlights the presence of the hydrogen bonds, which are crucial, strong non-covalent interactions that stabilize drug binding to the target enzyme. This visualization provides clear molecular evidence for supporting the strong binding affinity observed for galdisphere. In conclusion, galdisphere, benzcyclovir, and baloxifir emerge as the most promising antiviral candidate due to their superior binding affinities to the Sudanese SARS-CoV-2 RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. This study also confirms that this molecular docking is a rapid and cost-effective method for its initial phase of the drug screening and repurposing efforts. Our work also our work underscores the critical roles of using the local regional genomic data in understanding viral evolution, which is essential for informing targeted and effective interventions strategies. Finally, I want to leave the academic community with a few key takeaways from our work. First, the RNA-dependent RNA polymerase remain a highly reliable and conserved target for developing antiviral drugs against SARS-CoV-2 globally. Computational screening significantly accelerates the identification of potential drug candidates, pulling from the existing approved drugs and saving vital time. Also, local genomic surveillance like the Sudanese data used here provide available insight for more tailored treatment strategy, while simultaneously contributing the broader African and global COVID research effort.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Taiba. So our next 5 minutes will be from the best paper from the opinion and poem, Dr. Eunice Fombele, who will present to us tribute to ASFI at its 5th anniversary. Welcome, Dr. Eunice, for the 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It is my pleasure to present on behalf of my core our work, the poems, and we are now looking at from tribute to top honor. You know, we wrote a tribute to ASFI at its first 5th anniversary, and we have won the best opinion poem paper. Next slide, please. So the aim of our paper was actually to celebrate ASFI at its 5th anniversary And we use poetry to pay tribute to ASFI for its visionary visions, milestones, and human impact across the continent. And we try to capture in literary form how ASFA has nurtured African scientists, how ASFA has created a community of solidarity and has reshaped narratives that position Africa as a producer of knowledge. So the main features of our paper was 3 poems, which were performed live during the anniversary as tribute to ASFA's journey. And this was done by myself, Eunice Fonyefonzo-Fombele, and Dr. Patricia Kweteim and Dr. Samuel Adewale Abagnege, who happens to be the Vice President Chair for Conference and Events. So the poems depicted Africa, ASFA with rich African imagery. The first image was that Africa is like a baobab, depicting its resilience and transformation as ASFA works to transform African science. The poems also saw Africa as an ASFA as an acacia, emphasizing diversity in research. You can see how the presentations have been moving from core science, from social science, and to science and to art. And another main feature that arose is that ASFA is like sunrise over Kilimanjaro, and it was personifying visionary presence for African science. ASFA was like a visionary presence for African science. ASFA is like the lioness by the rivers, symbolizing strength, symbolizing community leadership, symbolizing nurturing, empowering, unifying, and transforming African science. Another main feature that came out was that the poems showcased ASFA as a mentorship court where capacity is built and solidarity, Pan-African solidarity is built. And the poem strongly echoed in ASFA's program that ASFA have trained thousands of scientists from over 45 African countries and has supported displaced researchers, especially those from Sudan. And we can see the beautiful results that are coming. Some of the papers that are winning are from Sudan. Then we have the ASFA as the visionary, whose visionary founder is Prof. Bright Nwaru, who portrays passion, resilience, and inspiration with a deep commitment to building Africa's scientific future. Yeah. So the key conclusions from these 3 poems were that ASFA emerges not just as an organization, but as a mother and a movement. A movement and a mother that turns crisis born in the silence of the COVID-19 pandemic into creativity, into courage, and into continental renewal. And the poems concluded that ASFA has become a symbolic home, the heartbeat for African scientists, offering dignity, hope, and a sense of belonging while advancing research excellence. Yeah. So our take-home messages are that poetry can powerfully document and interpret scientific ecosystems. It can capture emotions through metaphors, and it can keep memories that numbers alone cannot convey about ASFI's 5-year impact. Second, the key take-home message also is that ASFI is portrayed in the poems as a cradle, a drumbeat, sunrise, and a bridge for African scientists, reminding us that investing in people, community, and ethical leadership is central to sustainable scientific transformation on the continent. So the tributes invite every listener, every African scientist, to see themselves as part of this story, as seeds, voices, and builders in an evolving ecosystem. In an evolving ecosystem where African science rises, rooted in heritage and reaching for global frontiers. Thank you very much. You will find the poem in the African Science Frontier Initiative Research Journal platform. Thank you very much for listening and for your keen attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eunice. And our last for this session, our D is the most outstanding and productive collaborative research group for 2025. On behalf of Group 6, Dr. Olusegun will give us a speech of 5 minutes. You're welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Edna. I want to say thank you to the committee for this great opportunity and the award. We are really grateful. And just as it resonates in Professor Bright's welcome remark that Africa is sick and scientists are the needed doctors to solve this problem. And so in the bid to do this, the ASFI bid to break barriers by creating the collaboratory groups, and which our group is one of them. And so this afternoon, I will walk you through insight into our successes and challenges as a group. So in our group, we have about 25 in our group, but we have active members that are just 13. So 13 of us, you'll find our names here. And so our challenges, we have low participation, just like I explained. We were 25 initially in our group, and we have just 13 of us. And so this is a big challenge for us at the beginning of this in January. We also had issues with scheduling time for our meetings because we have people from different parts of the world as African scientists. We also have challenges with inconsistent attendance. As some we attend at some point in time, and then our next meeting will not have them in the meeting. We also have weak commitment from some members. Okay, so how did we navigate our problem? So we're able to navigate our problem by, first of all, having what we call a group charter. And this was developed to take care, to define our mission, vision, and team structure. And then we also try as much as possible to be flexible with our timelines so that we can maintain quality output. we also try to be more engaging when it comes to taking decisions. So we try to hear the view of others, and we, as much as possible, we try to be result oriented, and then we focus our effort on committed members to drive the progress. So what has worked well for us? The structured leadership we have worked very well for us, because in that we're able to have a coordinator, assistant, and then the secretary to ensure accountability. We try as much as possible to also have a consistent meeting. Next slide, please. With strong team spirit. So we make sure we have meetings twice in a month. We have one with the regular general body, and then as a group we have another meeting. So we meet twice in a month, and we are always consistent with this. We also try as much as possible to respect the diversity in our perspectives. We also, what worked well for us is also effective teamwork. So we build what we call the online collaboration tools like team email address and then Google Drive. These are things we use that helped us a lot. So what has not worked well for us? Time management was an issue, because sometimes we have to actually extend our deadlines, because people are busy and they cannot meet deadline. But in order to ensure quality, we have to be flexible. Also, inconsistent availability, just like I said earlier, was also an issue. So what are the progress we have made so far? We decided on what to work on as a group. And so we decided to look at gender inequality in the use of AI in Africa. So in order to do this, we decided we need to understand what is happening in this area at present. So we decided, let's look at a systematic review, and then we plan this, and then we develop a protocol so that if we understand this, then we can take the research further. And so we did this. Our output so far, we have been able to publish our protocol. We registered it in Prospero, and then we were able to develop a good size strategy. We were able to also do database search. We've been able to get all the articles needed for the systematic review. And so going forward, we are at the stage where we are now screening our articles, and then currently we have moved these articles into RIAN to help us manage the data well. So we are also going to do our analysis and then do our report and publish the work. And also after this, we plan to have more research article from this. And also, we intend to also have grant applications around this. What are the lessons that we have learned from this? We have learned that building on team strength maximize impact. We have seen that also.
1 minute.
Okay, so we have seen the power of synergy, and then we have also seen that everyone matters a lot when it comes to collaboration. And then what is our assessment of the value of CRG Group? It's an excellent platform. It is effective. It is an online training hub. It fosters collaboration and cooperation. And this is where we are. Thank you. Danki Eshe Nagode.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Dr. Taiba, Dr. Valile, Dr. Eunice, and Dr. Olusegun. And this marks our end of this session. Thank you very much, everyone. Back to you, Jerry.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Edna. Up next will be our recap for ASFI at 5. So I will be inviting Dr. Vera, Dr. Ajibola, and Dr. Samuel. All right, Dr. Samuel, your co-host, you can go ahead and speak. Dr. Ajibola, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Jerry. I hope I'm loud and audible this time around.
Fantastic, you are.
Thank you very
Yes,
much. It's an honor to be here again this afternoon. And on this session, I am together with my colleague, Dr. Ajibola. We are presenting to you a reflection and celebration of our organization called African Science Frontier Initiative. And of course, from the previous speakers, you have seen that we have run this organization for about 5 years. And this year, we had our celebration. So together with me, with Dr. Ajibola, we are going to also speak to the award that we receive as an organization. So please come along with us as we take you through this journey of celebration. Please, next slide. Yes, I want to emphatically mention that the journey of ASFI at 5 is a celebration of excellence. Yes, let me start with that. And of course, on July 14, 2025, we had this celebration. And of course, we celebrated the organization's journey, reflecting on what has happened in the last 5 years, looking at our diversity, looking at our strengths, and looking at our passion and our vision. And of course, as a community that is in one space, where myself as a Nigerian that lives in South Africa connects with a lot of colleagues, even that we have not even seen ourselves. I have Edna from Tanzania, I have Jerry also, I have Shegun, who is a Nigerian that's working in Botswana. I have my president, my first president of this General Assembly, Professor Eunice from Cameroon. We have all come together in one space as a community to celebrate commitment of African science. And of course, like Professor Bryce mentioned in his opening remark this morning, that Africa is sick. And of course, we are coming together as doctors, as nurses, to look at how we can put a solution to the sickness of Africa through research development and collaboration. So the celebration of ASFI at 5 bring about just some key activities. One of them is we had a keynote speech that speak to leadership integrity. And of course, we can see that spanning from the convener of this organization, Professor Bright, even coming to the Professor Emma and some other colleagues in the organization. We look at that in that aspect of keynote speeches. Also, the celebration also look at testimonials from different persons. In this session today, we are going to listen to some of my colleagues that are going to give us their testimonials, their social stories about ASFI in the last 5 years. Also, the event also witnessed a gala dinner that features African song. Colleagues, if you're not at that event, you have missed a lot. We had songs from Sudan, we had songs from Uganda, from South Africa, from Tanzania, from Kenya, even a dance from Cameroon that was led by President Eunice Fumbali. And of course, we had good drinks. We enjoy virtual and physical drinks where we had a toast with our wines, with our different types of choice drinks. And of course, the events feature poems. And one of the poems we are going to listen to today is going to come from the next slide from my colleague, Dr. Patricia Inquetain. Let me quickly pause and allow Dr. Patricia to give us the lines of this poem as we enjoy this session. Dr. Patricia, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, for the privilege to share this poem. It is an acrostic, meaning that the first letter of every line of the poem spells out a name or a phrase. So the poem is titled The Luminary. Building bridges across minds, disciplines, and nations of Africa. Restoring long-lost hope that Africa is great and can rise again. Igniting in all the passion for innovative and impactful research. Guiding and mentoring the lost, the ignorant, and the confused. Helping each to see potentials in a continent long written off as dark. Helping each to see potentials in a continent written off as dark, transforming them into visionary and innovative researchers. Noble is your mission to raise scientists with right competencies. With a nimble mind and visionary heart, you empower all to advance Africa's developmental and transformative agenda. Righteously weaving tips and tricks into tools of innovative research, unlocking potentials, generational confidence, and resilient systems. Oh, spread the news. Let it sound, let it ring, make it sound.
Wow.
From the north to the east, from the west to the south. Next slide.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patricia.
African-based solutions are needed to lift Africa from its woes. Science is the engine for innovation, impact, and development. Frontiers must be expanded for sustainability and equity. Initiatives must be harnessed for the rise of our great continent. Thank you very much.
Wow, colleagues, I think we need to give Dr. Patricia a lot of claps with this energy she has given to us with this poem. Yeah, she has also tell us some of the things that Professor Eunice mentioned when she was mentioning the award to us. You can see the energy from this. So colleagues, let me quickly leave the room also to allow some of our colleagues that have testimonial as regards African Science Frontier Initiative at 5. I will call on Dr. Dennis Egger. Please, you are in the room, unmute yourself and speak to us just in 2 minutes. Dr. Dennis Egger. Okay. Dr. Dennis. Wow. Okay. Can Dr. Jerita 1B? Can you speak?
Sorry. I was delayed in unmuting.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this time. I am Dennis Egger from Nigeria, and I came to ASFI through my mentor, the convener of this program, Professor Bright. And at the beginning, it stated clearly that the race of an academic, a researcher, a scientist is not a sprint, but a marathon. And it's often long and it's tiresome sometimes. And we in Africa are particularly challenged by infrastructural deficits. And therefore, we need strategy. And the strategy is collaborations with collaborators who can be your colleagues, your mentors and mentees, and their successes and my success is not my own, but ours. And their success is not their own, it's ours, in the spirit of African Ubuntu. And the race is lifelong in learning, and that PhD is not the summit, but merely a path to design it. And African problems are many, often are caused by political upheaval, but the solution rests on the hands and the abilities of scientists, academics, and researchers, doing through the process of working locally, but with global view. And what I've learned in ASFI can never be taught in any university because they don't have that curriculum to start with. In summary, ASFI have made me a better learner, a better teacher, a better mentee, a better mentor, and also a better African. And more importantly, it made me a better human being. And I would rather be nowhere else but in ASFI. Thank you. My eternal gratitude to all the management of ASFI. Thank you. God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis Elgar, for this wonderful testimonial about ASFI. ASFI has made us a better human being. Can I quickly call on Dr. Jerita Nwabi to also speak to us about our experience, about our testimony about ASFI? Dr. Jerita, over to you. Dr. Jerita?
Sorry, thank you very much. I think the host took some time to unmute me. Thank you, everyone. My name is Dr. Jerita Mwambi. I'm from Pwani University, Kenya, and I'm so glad to give my personal testimonial of what I've achieved after I joined ASFI. I joined ASFI in 2022 through a colleague of mine who shared a poster on grant writing course. I immediately applied because I was very interested and I wanted to learn about grant writing. I attended the course and I was so motivated. I learned a lot from Professor Nwaru, who is a great teacher and a great mentor. Immediately after the course, I had so much confidence. The confidence was actually unbelievable because I was able to quickly organize 3 of my colleagues. We came up with a proposal for a grant call, which was shared within the mentorship group. After the course, there's always a WhatsApp group. So we quickly came up with a proposal, which we sent, and it was very successful. And we did the research, and we actually completed our research last year. Again, last year, with 3 of my other colleagues, we were able to win an institutional research funding. And all this I attribute to the skills that I have learned from ASFI. Indeed, ASFI is a place to be in. I have learned and gained so much skills, like peer reviewing. I've been able to collaborate with other colleagues from different nations. We've come up with papers and even published one of them in the ASFI Research Journal, which is a very good journal. I really, really want to encourage those who have not joined, those of us who are in this conference and you've not joined ASFI, please make it a point to join ASFI. There's no other place where you can learn. Professor Nwaru and the team, may God bless you. Long live ASFI. Thank you very much.
Yeah, long live ASFI, long live ASFI. The message there is that if you're not yet a member, please join us and be a member of ASFI. Colleagues, I also had the opportunity to present a poem during the anniversary. And I'll tell you, this should be my first poem, even in my life. And then when I was composing this poem, I realized I perceived the passion, the essence of what ASFI has done for me. And that's why I call it the moving pandemic. ASFI is a moving pandemic. ASFI, the virus of radical change for sustainable African society. ASFI, the big bug that stings the Black scientists to bring about their potential into manifestation for a beautiful African environment. ASFI, the eyes that see through various lenses at a point to preserve our cultural diversity for African economy. ASFI, the echo of capacity building, networking, team building, and leadership awareness. ASFI, the sound of never said no from the convener, the carrier of this pandemic. Can this pandemic stop? No. It is a movement of infection. Long live Africa, long live African science, long live ASFI. On this note, colleague, I want to tell us that we have actually had a very fantastic journey as far as ASFI is concerned in the last 5 years. On this note, I will hand over the microphone to my colleagues, Dr. Ajibola, to take us through Humanity Flourishing Prize Award. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Sam. And I also want to just really appreciate everybody who has given their testimonial. And colleagues, you can see that different individuals have spoken about how well and how so much ASFI through Professor Bright has done, not only in their careers, but also in their personal lives, and how positively impacted this has been. And to cap it all, if individuals are seeing all of these things, then a notable organization then came to cap it all up. As you all know, we marked the 5th anniversary of ASFI this year. And this is called the Humanity Flourishing Prize Award. And what is it? What is the Humanity Flourishing Prize? It's a global award given by a US-based non-profit organization called I Am Humanity. And this is to recognize individuals, organizations whose work makes a significant, long-lasting contribution to the flourishing of humanity. And the core purpose of this prize is to honor the architect of flourishing. And if you all agree with me, Professor Bright, ASFI is an architect of flourishing. And their vision, that is ASFI vision and action, extend beyond immediate problem solving to creating enduring conditions where life in all its forms can thrive for generations to come. So colleagues and friends, on the 18th of October, 2025, the founder and the benefactor of ASFI, Professor Bright Nwaru, received the prestigious Humanity Flourishing Prize in recognition of his vision and leadership in founding and steering ASFI to a remarkable impact over the past 5 years. And to us, I think to the entire ASFI community, if you have been listening to everything that has been said, this is not a small thing. It's a moment of pride for all of us. And so I just want us to take a pause and collectively celebrate this milestone. And I'm sure that as we celebrate this milestone, it will uplift our spirit and remind us that ASFI's work is making real impact. And that is now being recognized, not only among individuals or locally, but globally. We were told that 50 initiatives from across the world competed for this award. From these, 24 finalists were shortlisted, and only 5 were ultimately honored. On that memorable day, I was glued to my system of truth. And as each awardee was announced, hour by hour, during the 6-hour, imagine it was for 6 hours, Humanity Day celebration, we waited eagerly. I mean, every one of us, because I could see some other ASFI community members also in the call that day. And ASFI was not announced 5th, it wasn't announced 4th, it wasn't announced 3rd, or even the 2nd. You know, as at that time, I was already wondering, what is happening? ASFI, what is happening? And then with a powerful voice, the announcer declared what made ASFI and Professor Nwaru truly stand out. And she said ASFI is not just a place to learn and build research capacity. It is a movement that unites Africans, helping them to support one another and use their scientific skills to develop the continent. Surely, if you all agree with me, there can be no nobler vision than this. And for that, Professor Nwaru, according to I Am Humanity, the organization behind the award, was the most deserving of the 2025 Humanity Flourishing Prize. And then we thought about it. How else can we express our joy? I mean, how else do we appreciate this platform, this movement? How else do we appreciate the visionary other than to join our voices, our hands, our hearts, and our spirit to say a resounding congratulations, Professor Nwaru. I know that many of us have been touched, inspired, we have been transformed. I am one of those people. Through knowledge, opportunities, and community that ASFI has provided. We celebrate you, Prof, and we believe that this is only the beginning of many more honors to come for this movement and vision. Now, ladies and gentlemen, friends, I invite everyone to please unmute yourselves. And when I count to 5, let us lift our voice together in one accord to say a
Congratulations.
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 Well
Bride, congratulations.
Well done.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Yes.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Proud to belong.
Thank you, Dr. Moaro. Thank you.
Yeah.
Proud of you, Prof. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Very proud of you,
Thank
Prof.
you
Thank you
everybody.
for all that you do, for all of
Thank
yourself
our
that you
luminary. We are proud of
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. So to also add to every one of us, our voices, we also have some special people who would also love to talk about why they are felt in their own space. Professor Bright and ASFI won the Humanity Prize Award. So I would like to invite Dr. Sherry Efaki to please give us our own talk. Next slide, please. Dr. Sherry, over to you, please.
Yes, thank you very much, my sister. Thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be one of the ASFI family. And it's my honor to speak about why Mr. Pride truly deserves the Humanity Prize. He earned it on the October 2025. Mr. Pride was awarded the Humanity Flourishing Prize, a recognition that reflects not only his achievement, but the deep impact of his vision to Africa. As you all know, that our continent carries huge promises, but we are yet continuing struggling with many challenges that affect every corner of life: hunger, weak infrastructure, limited access to clean water, poor educational system, and rapidly growing population. And there is area essential for any national progress. This is science and research, and it is neglected. As we all know that science is the engine that drives the solution for health technology, security, and for everything. So we know that without a strong scientific capacity, no society will develop meaningful. This is a gap where Mr. Pride chose to confront with a passion and clarity through African Frontline Initiative. He has committed himself to build the next generation of African scientists, young minds equipped with excellent experience, research skills, mentorship, and deep sense of purpose. He believes that only competent and empowered scientific community can change African narrative. He dedicated his life to make this vision a reality. Mr. Bright does not he's more than teacher. He is inspired. He opened doors. He turns mentee to mentors. He installed confidence, competence, and love for Africa. His work is not just a training, it's transformation, it is legacy and hope to turn into action. This is unwavering passion, leadership, and powerful commitment to empowering African science, Mr. Pride, and Humanity Flourishing Prize. He is lighting the path for flourishing, self-reliant, and innovative Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon. That was beautiful. I would like to call on Dr. Shegun. Yes, please, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Ajibola. Today we gather here to talk about leadership that does more than just leading. And this is exactly what Professor Bright and the ASFI represents. In a world where many talented young people in Africa have the passion but lack the resources and mentorship to pursue scientific discovery, ASFI opened doors that would have remained closed. Under Professor Bright's amazing leadership, ASFI had created pathways for African scholars and early career researchers to thrive. Through mentorship, skill development, research collaboration, hands-on exposure to cutting-edge researches, Professor Bright is helping build a relationship, a generation of scientists who will solve African challenges from within. His work is truly human-centered. It makes scientific opportunities available to all and empowers them not just to dream, but to achieve, and the ripple effect are obvious in creating a stronger future for our continent, Africa. Professor Bright does not just train scientists, he empowers change makers and invests in people. I am a living testimony to this. As I joined ASFI in 2021, I was part of the first squad that went through the systematic review. Professor Bright and ASFI is an whole and not as a whole, and not only deserving of the Humanity Flourishing Prize Award, it represents its very meaning. And so today I say congratulations to Professor Bright, congratulations to ASFI, congratulations to all of us. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Oluwasegun. And if I can really, if there was one word I got from you, and that is the ripple effect. And this is actually true, because in my own experience also, what I've learned, what Prof has taught me, I see that I try to replicate that even when I supervise and when I interact with my students. And so once again, I want to say congratulations, Professor Bright Nwaru, and your vision continues to inspire us all. And the truth of the matter is that this award does not only belong to him, it belongs to the entire ASFI community, because you are what makes the ASFI movement, and you are what makes the ASFI strive. You are what makes ASFI to continue to grow and to expand. And so I just really want to use this opportunity to also appreciate every one of you, and also to our partners, everyone who has partnered with us, everyone who has believed in ASFI's vision. You are all well appreciated. And to every scholar who also believes in the power of African science to make humanity flourish, please go ahead. There is so much for us to do. And I know that over the years, more will be accomplished. So thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ajibola. I need to invite Dr. Edna to usher us to the most awaiting time again in an oral abstract presentation. And thereafter, we'll make some few announcements, and then we go to our breakout session. Dr. Edna.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jerry. Good morning, good afternoon, distinguished participants, colleagues, and friends. My name is Edna, your anchor for this session, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this breakout session of our conference today. We're excited to have you here and grateful that you have chosen to invest your time, expertise, and energy to these focused discussions. As you know, we have 8 breakout rooms, each dedicated to a specific theme. These sessions are designed to encourage deeper dialogue, practical exchange, and collaboration. We invite you to choose the room that best aligns with your interest, passion, or area of work and expertise. In each room, our moderators are ready to guide conversation, highlight key insights, and ensure everyone has the opportunity to contribute. I encourage you to be open, engaged, and interactive. We'll keep time strictly, starting from 11 to 12:30 hours GMT. So please be sure to settle into your chosen room as soon as possible. After the discussion, we'll straight go for lunch which will take place between 12:30 and 13 hours GMT. And after that, we'll join the bootcamp session. Once again, welcome to the breakout session. Let's make this an enriching and impactful experience. Please proceed to the preferred room and let the conversation begin. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Edna. So please, while you do that, from there you're going for your lunch. Please don't go from there, because one of the most important parts of the bootcamp we're going to start. And if you grab your program, you'll see that we have very important bootcamp program. The first one is from data to policy, step by step in data-informed decision making. You don't have to miss that. Followed by developing policy briefs on tropical issues in Africa. This is an important topic that you need to miss. So please, after the lunch, return back so that we can all together learn. Thank you so much.
All right. Here, Dr. Kwabai, just to mention, if you want to rotate rooms, if you want to move from one room to the other, participants, you can do that. So you don't have to stick to one room. So if you have in your program presentations you want to see in other rooms, just find the button in the room you are to change room or leave the room, come to the main room here, and then you move to the next room. Please remember that this is the most important interactive part for you, where you interact with science. So be critical, support the presenters, give them insights that will help them to refine their work. And of course, you yourself go to learn. So see you later.